Hey, you're listening to Your Worst Song podcast, and I am Alex Southey, your host. I loved this talk with Rebecca. We we happened to live in the same area for a while in Southwest Toronto, and so we'd see each other occasionally and give our little "Hey, you're an artist, I'm an artist" wave, but we never really sat down for coffee or chatted too much, other than occasionally on Instagram if either of us kind of had a helpful tip or whatever, because Rebecca also does New Pony PR, which is her PR company, and I was doing PR for a while. So just kind of helping each other that way. But I guess what I'm trying to say is finally we sat down for a longer conversation and found a lot of common ground. We talk about everything from her starting her uh, career in Red Deer all the way to Toronto, going back to Red Deer and Edmonton, not getting grants, being up for awards, how you do all that stuff, how we both find different scenes and what it's like being in a small scene versus a big scene, ceilings, etc. So there's a lot to learn here. I hope people enjoy it. I'm Alex Southey, and this is Your Worst Song. I keep forgetting, but just popping in here. November 23rd in Guelph, which is a Saturday. I have Freightliner Band playing live, a concert, and we're doing a live interview for the podcast. So come out to that. It's $10. Rebecca, it's great to have you on. I guess I should ask, should I be calling you Tovi or Rebecca?
You can call me Rebecca.
Rebecca. Also, am I pronouncing that correctly? Tovi?
Yeah.
It's not Tavi or Tovai.
No,
Okay. So
you got it.
how did you come up with that? I'm curious.
So I had a band for quite a few years, and then we ended the project, and my producer that we were working with, Mike Rocha, who then I recorded my first TOVI EP with, um, he reached out to me like, I don't know, maybe 3 days before a factor deadline was coming up. And he was like, "Oh, you should apply." I kind of knew I wanted to do a solo project, and he's like, "You should apply." And I was like, "Oh no, I gotta come up with something." So I literally, yeah, I went on like a baby name website, and like my old band was called Girl Meets Bear, and I don't know, I wanted something that was like way shorter
That's
and
a great name though too.
I was happy with that name.
But
I wanted something that was short and like aesthetically looked cool and could be like, because it was the beginning of my project, I wasn't sure if I was going to continue as a solo artist or if it would turn into a band thing. So I was like, okay, I want to pick something that could go either way. And yeah, and I went through like so many different options. And of course, like when you go like searching names on Spotify, there's always like 10 other
oh yeah.
artists with the same name. And at the time, I was the only Toby. That has
Huh?
since changed.
Really?
People are taking that name, yeah.
Damn.
But it is what it is.
Hopefully
So
no Canadian Tovies though, other than you.
there are.
What the fuck? Okay,
Yeah.
that's fucked in my opinion.
So it does stress me out a little bit. Um, but it's, yeah, I'm like, I was first though.
Yeah. Hey,
um,
we probably have literally the dates on the account, so you can prove that.
yeah.
Yeah. Damn. But okay, but basically it came from you looking at baby names.
Yeah.
So where does that name come? Do you know? Like, presumably you just found it on a list or whatever online, but do you know if
I
that's just
know,
yeah? What's the origin of that
well,
name?
I know it's a Hebrew name.
Mm.
That's all I know.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice. Okay, cool. Tovi. Do you know what it means? In because usually there's a no, you don't know. Okay. great singer, something like that, hopefully.
I
Um,
hope so.
yeah. uh, well, that's so cool. I would like to hear more about. Actually, I think it would be really beneficial for people to hear about that factor process. If you wouldn't mind briefly just describing what that was like. Like you said, it was brought to your attention just a few days before you applied. Presumably, if you're telling the story, you did get a grant or something, or no?
No, no, I didn't get that
You didn't?
one.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah, so when I had my other project, um, yeah, like my producer was really encouraging of us to apply for grants. Like I didn't even know
Right.
about grants until I started working with him. And back then, there were, I think they were called demo grants that
Okay.
Factor had, and we I think we got two of them. And yeah, like Mike was big in helping us get that. And then just like helping us through the process. I don't know. It was so intimidating to me at the time because I was just so clueless
I still think
as
it's
to like,
intimidating.
yeah. Um, and yeah, the demo grants were so much more simple. Like there wasn't like actually a lot of information you had to provide because it was more the purpose of like for bands that were like preparing to record something bigger. Like it was more like
Hmm.
you're still figuring out what the big project's going to be. Um, and then yeah, so I feel like that was basically like providing a couple examples of your music and like maybe a bio. Like I don't know. I
Damn,
feel like
very, very
I
bare bones.
it was yeah, it was pretty basic. And I mean your budget and all that, of course.
Yeah.
Um and then yeah, I think for this one when I looked up the baby name and stuff for my last minute coming up with a project name, um I think that may have also been a demo grant.
Huh.
But yeah, didn't go through. So my first EP, I yeah was out of pocket,
Hmm.
and then I was able to get grants after that. I feel like it
Okay.
was kind of like I needed some history behind the project. Maybe I don't know, but
No,
it all feels like a crapshoot.
I think it's a mix of being a crapshoot, like you're saying, and also it's so that thing, that frustrating thing of like when you first get into the workforce. I don't even mean music. I just mean generally when you're looking for a job. So many
Yeah.
jobs say you need prior experience, but you're applying for an entry level job, and it's this catch
Hmm.
22 of like, so how am I supposed to have prior work experience if I'm applying to an entry level job? And that's what it seems like with the Factor demo grant. It's like these are like it's demonstrative. Why should I have to have something behind me first or pre-existing? But it seems like you're right. That is a huge aspect of it. They want to, it's weird. They want to help people who are starting out, but not so starting out that they have zero footprint in the industry.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
It's a
kind of
delicate
like
balance.
yeah, it's tough because I feel like I don't know, it's a bit like you have to put your money where your mouth is or something. Like you have
Yes.
to invest in yourself first before like they're gonna get on board. But at the same time, that's like really a place of privilege to be able to like start your own project like properly, like hire a professional to
Oh my God.
help you
Yeah.
with it. So I don't know, I feel like yeah, there needs to be more like boosting brand new artists like from the very start
I
because otherwise
agree.
yeah we're missing out on so much talent otherwise like
Absolutely. It's a, or at the very least, there needs to be some sort of, it's either something like that, right? Where financially artists get a boost that maybe just prove themselves truly with demos on their voice memo, like on their iPhone or on their
yeah
laptop or something.
yeah totally
Like, or it needs to be clearer the path you have to take as a new artist to establish yourself first. Like you talked about not getting that grant, and so you paid out of pocket and you had to begin doing that kind of thing. That needs to be clear. There need to be examples of how to do that, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
It like I wrote an article recently about how to like find your uh royalties that might be floating around if you've ever been played on radio or other stuff, and like
Mm-hmm.
what you should sign up for and things like that that I've learned over the last 5 or 6 years. And I wrote it not because it'll help me, because I already know that stuff, but because I found it so fucking frustrating when I was
Yeah.
starting out that it's like 7 different isolated, like silo almost things that you need to be aware of to then bring together to make it a working thing. There needs to be
Mm-hmm.
some sort of like that article should just go on Factor, the website or something. It should just be like there should be an
Mm-hmm.
available instructional kind of thing, and then it will truly come down to one, your work ethic, and two, if your musical ideas are touching anyone, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which
Totally.
is that's sort of maybe a utopian level idea. I guess it's still a
But
we're
it's not that hard to
no,
like make that happen. Like it shouldn't be that hard for like information like that to just be available easily.
I
So
agree. Oh my God. This is a nightmare. Anyway, well, okay, then I want to keep going kind of with what you did. You had to eventually pay out of pocket. Like, we don't need to talk about money stuff, but
Mhm,
how did you get going then with you already had some prior experience having been in that band, but
mhm,
how do you get going then? How your step one, of TOVI. So what do you do?
mhm. Um,
And also, forgive me, sorry, were you
mhm.
in Red Deer already? Like when you were doing this, or had you moved to
Oh,
Toronto?
so I was in Toronto from 2013 to 15,
Mm-hmm.
and then I lived in Alberta. Like I moved back to Alberta in 2015 and was there for 3 years, and that's when I started my solo thing.
Okay.
And I yeah, like I came up with I made a bunch of like demos on GarageBand
Mm-hmm.
and booked some studio time with Mike, and like I had recorded with him when I lived in Toronto, and I like flew out for my friends were also getting married in Toronto, so I kind of
Oh, they were
like
okay.
did
Yeah,
this, doing a wedding and recording in the same week.
it's
So that
intense.
worked out nice.
Yeah.
Oh, and I saw the Gorillas in concert that week.
Whoa.
It was a very good week.
Yeah. Damn. That's a
um,
great week.
yeah. So yeah, came out to Toronto, recorded that first EP, which was 4 tracks, and yeah, it was just like the two of us like covered like playing all the instruments on it. I don't think, yeah, we didn't have any drums on that
Mm-hmm.
EP. It was all electronic like
Mm-hmm.
program. Um and then I I don't know, like so many artists, just like I think I was overthinking things for a little bit. I
Yeah.
was sitting on it for a while, probably like not getting back like about mixes and blah 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 blah
So relatable.
blah. And then yeah, so that was summer 2017, and then spring 2018 I released the EP, and it's I don't know, I had like some pretty good luck with it. Like I submitted one of the songs to CBC Searchlight that
Mm-hmm.
year, and it got like featured on the CBC website, which is very nice.
Damn.
And then like I put it forward to the Western Canadian Music Awards, and I was like nominated.
Whoa.
So it was kind of like I got these like nice resume things. Oh,
Oh, we're good on my end.
are we good? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of got these nice resume things under my belt from that, which I think was, yeah, quite helpful for the next. grant
Right.
application.
Yeah, exactly. That's huge.
Mhm.
Okay, well, see, I have all these questions then. If you don't mind, uh, getting into it can be somewhat nebulous, I guess, if the way what I'm asking. But like,
Okay.
how did you put yourself up for the award for the Western Music Award? Like, what is the
Um,
process? You just go on the website, you
yeah,
register, and then submit something?
yeah. I don't know. To me, it's fairly similar to like applying for a festival.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
you just kind of got to look out for, make sure you're following the right page on
Yep,
Instagram, or like
yep.
sign up for the newsletter to get a heads up when applications are open. And yeah, I think it's kind of like, submitting the tracks from the album and your bio, and then any press, like radio charting,
Hmm.
and there's always a fee.
Oh God,
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then yeah, you just
Hope for the
cross your
best after that point.
fingers.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Wow, that's exciting. Okay, cool. And then obviously things like you said, they're nice for your resume and they lead to it's more likely that you uh the more you have stuff like that, the better chance probably that you'll get a grant
Mhm.
kind of thing. But also just objectively, if you're nominated for things like that, one, you're then thrust into this pool of peers that then will help networking wise, I imagine,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the odd thing came up like where then my name was out there a little bit more. Like I had
So people could
a
rip
few
off the
people.
idea.
Well, people were reaching out, to open
Yeah, wow.
for, yeah.
Ooh la la.
Just yeah, just like I mean, not like huge touring bands coming through, but I don't know. I do find it flattering every time, just like a band that like doesn't have any of my friends in it asks me to play, because it's more like, oh, your music is cool, like,
Exactly.
yeah.
No, that is the test. It's like it's really nice early on in your career when you start seeing strangers come to your show and it's not just
Yeah.
family or friends. You're like, oh, okay. I'm doing
Mhm.
something right, theoretically.
Yeah, totally, I agree.
Wow. Okay. Well, maybe let's get into the first question, which is this, and it could relate to maybe this time period of yours. Who knows? But what do you think is the best gig that you've played?
um yeah, I'm I'm going to a very different time of my life for this
Okay.
answer, actually.
Okay.
I thought about this quite a bit,
Hmm.
and it's actually my favorite gig was playing Battle of the Bands in high school.
Wow.
I've
Okay.
never topped it.
Wow.
Like, it's like I've never enjoyed playing as much as when I played Battle of the Bands in grade 12. I I think there's something really special about when you're a teenager and you're just getting into music, and it's like every new, I don't know, like you're discovering, I don't know, I was digging so much into like all these eras of
Ye-
like rock music, and
Yeah.
everything was just blowing my mind.
Yes. Right. And at
And
that
like,
age, everything seems boundless. Like you can
yeah,
just imagine as far as the horizon goes. Kind of. That's yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of optimism going
Yes.
on.
Yeah.
I haven't been like,
Jaded to the
disappointed.
industry. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think there's like a lot of optimism, and yeah, I started this, like, we were like a power trio,
Wow.
doing cover songs. We were doing like, I think for that show, we were playing like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and the White Stripes and the Clash, and just like a bunch of cover songs,
Cool.
and just going, pretty crazy, having lots of fun. And I just remember being just like, oh, just like so elated over it. Um, and I've never had that much fun playing ever since. I mean, I feel like we can look at, like, sometimes the past looks a lot more shiny and
Yeah.
awesome than
Yeah.
the present. So there's that. I mean, there's that too. But I feel like I've been, chasing that feeling. So
Totally.
yeah.
No, I get what you mean. Well, I would love to hear more about the specifics of that. So you've moved back and forth from Toronto and Red Deer. Was this Red Deer? Isn't that right?
Mhm.
So where was it?
Um, it was just like in the cafeteria of my high school.
Oh, but sorry, I mean which
Oh,
city?
oh, which city? Oh, it was in Red Deer.
Oh, okay. So it was in the cafeteria of your high school. It wasn't even like a downtown thing where you had a
No.
venue. This is amazing. This is like this is like what would be the end of a high school movie, is you get to play the
Yeah.
Battle of the Bands in your cafeteria. So was it after school? Like was it at
Yeah,
night
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah. I think it was like immediately after school. It was kind of like,
okay.
okay, everyone's catching the bus home, but if you want to stick around and see your
Wow.
friends scream into microphones,
I'm just impressed you
go
had
down to the cafeteria.
I'm impressed whenever I hear about any high school kids having the uh for lack of a better word, confidence to get up and do that. Like I didn't. I'm sure listeners are sick of me talking about my own experience because this is about other people having them on. But I didn't start playing music publicly until I was 25. So it blows me
Okay.
away when I hear about people who started like a decade earlier and
Ah.
they had the confidence or whatever word to get up and do that. You know what I mean? Like, did you even think about it? Or were you
Hmm.
just like, I love music. Music is blowing my mind. I'm enjoying it with these friends. We're a power trio. Let's do it.
Well, I mean, I played music from when I was really young. Like, my mom is actually a music teacher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, it was like pretty just
Like
like
baked in.
something I did,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
from very young. I mean, obviously I wasn't like performing punk songs like as a little child, but I played like recitals and
Right.
little like, you know, little music festivals
Wow. Little music
and
festivals.
then
That's still amazing.
yeah, like just like where you like get adjudicated, like the kind
Yeah.
of stuff
I
that like
getcha. Like
yeah,
grades, that kind
yeah.
of thing. Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And yeah, I think like when I was around 14, like so I was doing like piano, like kind of inconsistently like between like piano and violin growing up, and then when I turned like 14 or 15 I got really into guitar, and all of a sudden I
Hmm.
was like, oh, I can play all the music that I like to listen to now.
Yeah.
So yeah, got pretty heavy into guitar, and you know started writing a few songs, and then when I was like 16, 17, I made some friends in high school that were like also like I met a drummer,
Hmm.
met a guitarist, and we're like, ooh, let's start jamming.
Right.
So yeah, it all felt like pretty
Natural. It
um
sort of flowed.
natural. Yeah, I wasn't like, ooh, this is like so brave of me or anything. Yeah, it just kind of was just like the next thing.
No, I get it. Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. And so your mom, you said she was a music teacher. Does that mean
Mm.
more in the vein of classical piano or whatever? That's why it led you to do violin and piano? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, I guess clearly that still provides some sort of different context. Like my parents love music, but they never perform. They're not performers at all in any way. They're more like sports people, I would argue.
Okay.
Uh, and I was mostly deep in the suburbs growing up, so it's very much like at best I'd hear little garage bands practice down the street or something.
Oh, okay,
But
okay. Mhm.
actually, speaking of which, where did you guys practice?
Um, in my Yeah, I guess it was at my drummer's parents' house in their basement. We
The
did try doing.
the patience of parents who
I
allow
know.
teenagers to practice. Yeah.
We did try doing the garage once, and we had some neighbors
Hmm.
walked over and were like, "Your kids are being too loud," and I thought it was pretty cool that we got in trouble for being too
Hell
loud
yeah.
somewhere else.
That is cool. That's very very punk, you know?
Yeah, kind of a
Yeah.
rite of passage
They
there.
don't
So.
understand, that kind of thing. Uh,
Yeah.
that's great. No, that's great. Okay, well then I'm curious when the worst gig came about. What's the worst gig for you?
Um, I would say like my first couple years that I lived in Toronto back, yeah, like I guess this was probably 2014. I I was just like booking every gig I possibly could. Like I was playing coffee shops. I was playing little bars. I was doing like farmers markets.
Hmm.
I was like opening for little like independent theater performances, and I was just like anything I could find. So I feel like there are many bad gigs in that era,
Yeah, yeah.
but probably the worst one was there was this little coffee shop slash bar in Kensington Market that I cannot remember the name, and I don't know if it still exists. But I went over there with my acoustic guitar to play a gig, and like no one showed up. Like I played to like two bartenders for like 3 hours or
Oh,
something. And I just went, I don't know what my problem was that I didn't just go like, hey, I think I'm just gonna pack up because this isn't going very well. I just stayed there and played, which isn't, I don't know, like not a disaster, but
I actually
you
think
know.
that maybe was the right move, or at least I don't know if it was the right move, but I relate more to that because I would feel like, well, were you paid for 3 hours?
No, I probably wasn't paid anything. I feel like everything I was doing at that time was like pay what you can. I felt
Yeah,
like I couldn't find anything in this city that like had any kind of
good lord.
guarantee.
Yeah. Not even the farmers
So
markets and stuff like that, or at least nowadays, some places will pay you, especially 3 hour
no,
gigs.
no, no, it was just like like I did a farmer's market once where I was there for hours and made like $7 or something.
God,
Like
God.
sometimes I had good luck and would get paid decent, but yeah, there was a lot of time where I was like, "What? Like, what am I doing?"
I will be the one to take this on the chin if anybody has an issue with it. But if you are a show creator and you're asking people to pay to play, fuck yourself. Uh,
Yeah,
it's fine if you aren't going to pay them, but they have the opportunity to make money from tips or whatever. That's kind of different in my opinion. But
yeah,
if you have to pay to have the opportunity to play, go fuck yourself. I
yeah.
hate that
I
system.
think that was. I think I had enough self-respect to never follow that system. There were a couple places I reached out to, and yeah, they were like, well, you have to sell 30 tickets first
Yeah,
for this like show to happen or
exactly.
something."
And by the
I
way,
was
I've
like,
been guilty of agreeing to do it. But
okay,
I still, maybe it's
you
because I
learn
have
your
that
lesson
experience.
one at a
You
time. Yeah.
live and learn.
Hmm.
Um, but I have learned, and so they can fuck themselves.
Yes.
But no, it's good to hear. I think people probably listening to this, because I would argue to me, you are successful or seem successful. So if people hear about these early issues, I think that actually will provide them hope as opposed to a lack of hope, you know? Um,
Yeah.
okay, so that was so basically it was bad because nobody showed up. It was just sort of embarrassing maybe or frustrating that nobody was there other than the bartenders, you know?
Yeah, I think it's more, yeah, I think it's one of those things where I'm just kind of like disappointed
Yeah.
in myself that I didn't,
Uh,
I don't know, just one of those like not standing up for yourself
yes.
situations.
How
Yeah.
are you promoting it? Did you promote it at all, or was it you know? That's something I think some people miss sometimes, including myself, is especially starting out. You think maybe you hear about natural draw happening at huge venues, but it's because those are
Mhm.
huge venues, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it probably was something. I mean, I think I always, would invite everyone I knew to things, but
Right.
I think I think definitely as I get older, I kind of realize like just how much work you really do need to be putting into promoting your shows.
Good Lord, yeah.
I think I used to have more of an attitude of like, well, the if these bars exist, they should have their own like regulars that come in. Like I know I used to have that attitude quite a bit. Like
Mm-hmm.
it shouldn't, well, and I mean, okay, like there is some truth to that. Like I don't think that I mean, obviously there's different kinds of venues in this city that have music,
Yes.
but I don't think that bars should be like bring us customers.
Oh my God, I
You
agree
know what I mean?
completely. Yes. It's bizarre. It's bizarre how many places, and yeah, we don't need to name names or whatever, but uh, it's bizarre how many places will be like, we're providing you the opportunity of using our space, so you must do everything else, including getting people in the door,
Mhm,
promoting, playing, probably paying for your own sound and stuff like that. And
mhm,
I'm in agreement with some of that. Like
mhm.
that responsibilities for all of that should partially fall on you. But it's insane to me that these places will just act like we are providing you a building in which you can do your show instead of them acting like we should probably promote it too and put a lot of effort
Yeah.
in and that kind
Mhm,
of thing, you know?
mhm. It's a lot more sustainable if it's coming
Yeah.
from both sides,
Yeah,
right?
and there are good versions of this, like you were
Mhm,
alluding to. There are some places that do what we're talking about or that do have regulars and they're willing to come and check out whatever the music is, but
mhm,
they're far and few between, I would argue.
mhm.
Um, yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to talk about. Uh, I'm glad that we're talking about this. This is good. Part of the reason I want to
Right.
do this podcast isn't it's not to shame anything, but it's to like shed a light on what the current scene is, good and bad, in Canada, or in this case, mostly Toronto. I've had mostly Toronto-based people,
Mhm,
and talk about it. Like Rebecca, and for the listeners, Rebecca and I just before we started recording, we're talking a bit about where the podcast came to be, and I just kind of said like I want it to serve as a almost like documenting what's going on in addition to the fun of talking about worst song and all that stuff, but because that's like the hook to get you to listen. But I hope people just enjoy listening to the conversation and the questions and hearing about what's going on. But yeah, no, so it's good that you're being honest and talking about this stuff. Actually, something I wanted to talk about was why, just getting back to you moving back and forth between cities,
mhm.
um, what was the reason for you coming to Toronto in the first place when you tried it for the first 2 years or whatever?
Yeah, so I had never lived anywhere else other than Alberta at that
Okay.
point. And like um like I lived in Edmonton for 3 years, like in my like from 18 till 21 or 22.
Hmm.
And I played a lot of venues there, and got a good sense of the scene. And I just kind of felt like smaller cities, like, I mean, Edmonton has a really great music scene. There's a lot of really creative people
It seems active.
there. But I just kind of felt like there's a bit of a ceiling. Like, it's like, oh, like you play like, and I don't want people to be mad at me about saying this either, but just like kind of big cities have their cities have their limits. Like Toronto has
One
its limits. Like it's
100%.
like
I
people move
think you're
to
just
New
being
York,
honest. Yeah.
yeah.
No, exactly. People move to LA or they move to New York or whatever.
Mhm. And I just kind of was like, oh, like it'd be cool to experience a city that has like that much more going on
Mhm.
in the music scene. And I felt like there was a lot more of like the industry side here. Like there's a lot of like so many Canadian record labels
I think
are
that's
based there.
objectively true. I don't think you're, shitting on anybody to say that.
Yeah.
It's just true. Uh,
Yeah. So yeah, that was just like, I guess just trying to, try something new and check out like music here and see what I could make happen out here doing music.
so what
Yeah.
were your first impressions of the differences in the scenes between I sort of am curious about what Red Deer's scene was like, but I imagine you would say I'm this is my Toronto is showing right now, but
Mhm.
I imagine you would say okay, if Edmonton was a slightly smaller scene or at least the ceiling was smaller than Toronto,
Mhm.
Red Deer was smaller than Edmonton, presumably.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like in Red Deer, yeah, there's like very few venues. Um but I mean, I feel like I didn't get too much of a sense of it back then because it was like I turned 18 and like moved to Edmonton.
Okay, okay, gotcha.
um, but but it did to me. I felt like the scene in Red Deer was quite small. It is cool now. They have Bose Bar and Grill, I think it's called,
Okay.
and there's like bigger artists that come through there. Like I've seen like Mother play there, and like
Damn.
Death from Above are playing there next
Okay.
month. Like,
Okay.
so I feel like that's been a really great venue. Like artists really like playing there. They're very nice to artists, and yeah, bigger bands come through. So I think that's great that there's like it's not just the local
Coffee shop
like
or
yeah
whatever.
yeah the local and like the local musicians, like there's like bigger bands coming through that local bands can open
Oh, sorry, we're having
for
trouble with we're
and
having trouble with connection.
like make like network with like, am I back?
1 second, sorry. Your
Okay.
internet connection is unstable. It might be my fault.
Okay.
It seems okay now. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Well, thank you. My question is, following on that, my question is, what do you think the draw is in Red Deer for those huge bands to come through? Like, other than it just being an interesting experience, whatever. Like, what you talked about Bo's Bar and Grill? Did they
Mhm.
provide benefits like you could sleep over at their property or anything like that?
Ooh, actually, I'm not sure if they provide that. I have a feeling maybe they do.
Okay.
I know they're good at like feeding people
Which is
and
honestly
like
a high, like great above the bar anyway, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they just are like, I don't know, it seems like they are a little more I don't know, just like decent about yeah, I mean, not trying to like cheat anyone, or I don't know, maybe just like upfront
Yeah.
and treat musicians like people, like not a
What?
commodity. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of I don't know. I've had a lot of rude treatment from like bar owners over the years, and I think just like people that actually appreciate and respect what musicians are doing like goes a
Hmm.
really long way.
Yeah.
Um,
And people have long memories.
yes, they do. I do.
Yes, exactly. Me too. Yeah. No, I agree. That's
um,
so true. It's almost like because the bigger cities know that they have more to offer, they're actually can be less nice some places,
mhm,
whereas
mhm.
smaller places are like, I mean, maybe they are just more decent people, who knows, but they also are like, we want to treat people well because thank you for coming to Red Deer and not just going like Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and okay. Now I'm gonna lose what I was gonna say.
Okay, sorry.
But no, it's okay. I just had a couple thoughts off of what you were saying, but I mean, I did notice when I moved to Toronto that it. I feel like venues do have more freedom to like not treat you well than like I felt like people were nicer in Edmonton. Like that's a general, just like I don't
We
know.
are
I'm putting myself.
generalizing.
I am generalizing
Yes.
hugely here.
Yes.
And then yeah, in smaller, like I think in general, like smaller towns, like it is really special when a bigger act comes through.
Hmm.
And I'm sure bands get like great like enthusiasm from crowds as
No, I
well.
I agree with you completely. Even speaking in my like, not, I am not big in any way, but just from my experience of playing, if I play in Toronto and then I play in Guelph and then I play in Peterborough or whatever, the
Mhm.
people in Guelph and Peterborough are way nicer on average and
Okay.
way happier to have you, you know?
Yeah.
They're willing to come out to check out a no-name artist like myself as opposed to, I mean, it's because of the great, there are so many great options in Toronto. It's harder to get people sometimes, but yeah, it's
Mhm.
just like they appreciate it more almost because
Mhm.
or because of a wide variety of reasons, but one of them is because they're smaller, I think.
Yeah, it's like it's you don't have like endless possibilities of like where you could check out music every night, you know?
Yes. Which actually also breeds that thing that we're talking about of having regulars.
Mhm.
Ironically, the
Mhm.
smaller towns are the ones that
Yes,
have those things that we're imagining.
totally.
Yeah. I
That's
don't know what your experience is like playing in the smaller cities other than Toronto, but in southwestern Ontario. Like, have you found the same thing? Have you played?
Oh, I haven't played like anywhere outside of Toronto in
Oh, really? So,
Ontario.
can I ask
No.
why that is?
I I feel like I'm just like I am not stoked on like touring and like I don't know. I don't want to say it too much because like I want people to ask me to
Yeah,
play shows opening for them. I don't want to be like I don't like playing shows. But
totally.
I don't know. It's like I guess I'm just like I when like I mean in this era of like my music journey, like I really like playing with a band. Like I'm not really into playing just solo anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more logistics around that,
Yes.
and there's a
Yeah.
lot more money I have to sink into it each time. So
Yep.
I feel like I'm pretty selective at this point, and yeah, I guess I don't know, it just hasn't been like a priority of
No, that
something
makes
I've
sense.
been pursuing. Yeah. I'm like I'm so um I'm just so into the process of like recording and fiddling around like with production stuff all the time. Like I feel like that's more where I'm excited, and I don't know, shows happen
I
now and
relate to
then,
this
but
so much. And every
oh
time I've
really?
tried so much, oh my
Okay.
God. Yeah. If I've said this on other podcasts and I've said this to my friends and they look at me like I'm insane, but if I could be like more on the Brian Wilson just stuck in the studio all of the time kind of end, I
Okay.
would be. I
Okay.
don't dislike playing live sometimes, but
Mhm.
it gives me a lot of anxiety. And my favorite part of the entire process of being a musician is in the middle of making an album when you've got the skeletons of all of the songs
Mhm.
and you're like dressing them up with arrangements and stuff. That is
Totally.
easily my favorite part. It peaks
Mhm.
there, and then by the time I have to play the stuff live when they're finished, I'm like, fucking Christ, oh God. You know? So no, I relate. But I also relate to the first thing that you said, which is you don't want to say that so much that people then look at you like, well, they're a hermit. They're not gonna come out, so we can't
Yeah.
ask them. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I will just like ask me. I might say no, but like I might say yes too. Like
Yes. No, I'm with you.
so yeah, I just feel like sometimes I talk about that so much like with friends where I'm just like, "Oh, I wish I could just be in the studio all the time." But yeah, then I'm like, "Oh, but I would like to play sometimes."
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I'm just not like actively like trying to book tours all the time.
Hmm.
And I do know people like
That's
that.
why they love it.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
they're in it. Like they love performing. And it gives them so much.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I think it's great. Like I always love shows for like I always meet new people. Like I always feel like you play a show like opening for a band or a band's opening for you and then I'm like I don't know, like then I'm like connected with them forever kind of
Yes.
thing,
No,
you
it's so
know?
true.
And
It
I
is a
think that's
bond.
super cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. It is cool. It's a yeah, for some of us it's like a necessary part of it, and for other people it's the draw, you know. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, well, let's get to the second half of things. I want to hear what you think is the best Tovi song.
Um, I like right now,
Yeah.
I think my favorite Toby song is um, I Don't Think We Can Be Friends, which
Okay.
is from my full length album that I put out in 2022.
Yep.
Um, it's, I think it's like one of like a handful of songs that I've made that is like if it wasn't my song, I'd be like really into listening to it, you know? It's like my vibe.
That's a great test. And it's bizarre how many songs that you can write that don't pass that test. You would assume
Mhm.
everything you write would be what you want to listen to, and it doesn't work out that way all the time.
Yeah. I kind of see it like some of my songs, even if it's like not totally, I mean, I'm proud of everything I've made
Yes, no, of
recently,
course, of course.
but it's like I know Um, I know there's going to be some songs. I don't know. I feel like this is so odd to say, but I feel like anything I like put good time into like recording, even if I'm not like super vibing with it at the time, I think I should still put it out because I might like it more down the road. Like my taste might change. And I know
Wow.
my taste has changed. And I also know that even if I'm not super connecting with it at that time, I'm like, maybe someone else will like it more than me,
Absolutely,
you
absolutely.
know?
Yes.
So, yeah, but that song, yes, like right now is my vibe. And it was super, like, it just felt like I have like really fond memories of like making it. Like, it just felt really um exciting, like not like when I was making the bare bones of it, like demoing it, but when I was in the studio completing it,
Hmm.
I recorded it with Josh Crody, and it was a song that I hadn't completed. Um, like I think at the time it was only maybe like, I mean, it's still a pretty short song, but I think at the time I think it was still under 2 minutes long, like my
Okay, yeah.
demo. And it was just one of those songs that like Josh brought so much to it. Like it was just kind of like both our taste in music and ideas just like meshed so perfectly that day, and it just felt so exciting to me. Like I was just like, wow, like this is so cool, like what's happening right now, kind of thing. And yeah, and it's like I find it really difficult for whatever reason to write more upbeat
Hmm.
songs, and
Hmm.
it's like one of my faster songs, very dancey, and I think it just sounds like it. It's probably my favorite song to perform.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, it's not really lyrically meaningful or deep or anything, but
Sure.
this just feels like something like reaching a new level sonically
Right.
in my journey of creating and writing. And
No, I get
yeah,
that.
I
Like
think it's cool. I enjoy playing it too.
yeah.
So
No,
mhm.
no, it seems like it's hitting. There are some songs where maybe individually you recognize that maybe, oh, that thing, that one thing, like lyrics in this case, you said it, the lyrics aren't, doesn't mean anything specifically necessarily, or it's not getting at something, but everything coming together, it like the sum of its is greater than the sum of its parts, whatever that phrase is. Uh,
Mhm.
can be the best songs. Like individually, each part doesn't need to
Mhm.
be perfect or the best version of that part you've ever done, but together it fits in a really beautiful way. So that's what it sounds like what this
Mhm.
song is.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Also, it's just nice to have a fast song. I totally agree with you. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you got to break up the plodding ones sometimes, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So, what about worst song? We've come to that.
Yes. Um. Yeah, I had kind of a hard time with this, but I think so. So that last song was like my favorite song to perform. So I was thinking, what song do I not want to perform?
Oh, okay, yeah,
I took it from that direction.
sure.
Um, to be able to pick one, and I think it would be "Falling" from my second EP. Um, yeah, I it's like one of the few songs that I have a bridge on. I kind of realized the other day, and I think it's just like it is very. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this in general, but I think it is pretty like formulaic, where I'm just like verse,
Yeah, I
chorus,
gotcha.
bridge, chorus. And then I feel like a lot of the lyrics are like pretty cliche or something. Like it's just like my song right now. I'm just like, ah, snooze fest, Rebecca. Like, but then, yeah. So I feel like it's something like if I was to play that acoustically, I'd be like, do I have to play this? And I think it has a lot to do with the lyrics feeling kind of cheesy to me, or
So why are
um,
they cheesy to you? Like, what's an example, if you can think of one?
well, like the chorus is just like, "Am I falling in love?"
Okay, I see.
And I
So
feel
it's
like that's
well
like,
tread ground for songs.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It just feels like maybe there's nothing about it that's like, um, I don't know. I guess feels like me as an artist. I don't know.
Right.
Like maybe it doesn't. I don't know. There's nothing like I can really connect to on it. I don't
Gotcha.
know. I and but then yeah, when I was thinking about that, like the bare bones of it, yeah, like the lyrics and just the structure of it, I'm like pretty critical of. But then, like the production is so good. And I'm like, I don't know. It's hard for me to like hate on it, but yeah. But those are two very separate things. Like just because the production is awesome, then it's like, well, it doesn't mean I want to do like an acoustic version of it.
No, sometimes the
You
production
can't make
is the
up for
thing
it.
that makes it great.
Yeah. And I think that song like falls under that. I feel like the songwriting, I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's one of those songs where I just wish I pushed myself a little harder with like workshopping it at the beginning.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know, sometimes I, I don't know, you just don't know when to like let go of things too.
Totally. You don't know the bake
You could
time.
you could overwork things. Like I could have brought that to like the next level, or maybe it would have just like forever like just continued being mediocre. Like who knows?
No, I get it. I get it. Well, thank you for being so honest on this podcast, and it was great. That's what I want. It was a good talk. It was a good talk. I appreciate you coming on a lot. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what?
thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And what we normally do at the end is you just reintroduce yourself and restate the worst song name.
Oh, yeah, I'm Rebecca, aka TOVI, and my worst song is called Falling.
Just like the last time, I'm drowning in the way you move. I'm following your shipwrecked fools to the floor of the ocean. Just like the last time, your presence is a smoke-filled room. I'm begging you to bend the rules. The world must be joking. You make things better. Here we go again. Am I falling in love? Just like the last time, you follow me through every dream. I'm waiting for you to say please. You know that I'm fading. You make things better. Here we go again. Am I falling in love? Am I falling Please don't get too close. All the shit going on in my head is a fireworks show.